Hello and welcome to part 2 of the ABIMAT online safety training. Online safety could be described as the biggest threat our children face in the modern world. Technology is developing at an accelerating rate, and in reality, the government and schools are often playing catch up on the threats as they emerge. The best way to keep our children and young people safe will be to educate and empower them so that they can be safe digital citizens. Leaders in school and your DSL team will keep you updated and informed about any online safety through the annual Basic Awareness Refresher training and staff CPD at regular intervals. Additionally, you'll be asked to complete more in-depth training on a rolling basis. As online safety is now such a big topic, we will be splitting this into 2 online training sessions. You will have completed part 1 already, which looks at how we use systems and the curriculum to keep children safe online. In part 2, today we will delve into the threats the online world poses. By being knowledgeable of the risks, you'll be empowered to identify concerns early on and take the appropriate steps to protect children. A reminder before we begin, like any aspect of safeguarding, keeping children safe online is everyone's responsibility, so please reflect on what you feel your role is in this as we go through the training. Before we look at the objectives, let's just have a think about the online world. Just as school should be a safe space for children, our children should also be able to navigate the online world in safety. Sadly, we know that this is not always the case. The NSPCC reports that over 9,000 child sexual abuse offences involved an online element in 22-23, and approximately a sixth of people that have experienced online harassment were under the age of 18. The internet is increasingly becoming a part of our children's lives, and the latest research from Ofcom 2024 estimates that 84% of 3 to 4-year-olds in the UK are going online already. The proportion rises to 100% for children 12 years and over. So the objectives for today are, by the end of this session, you should feel confident in identifying the key risks children face online, be able to spot potential warning signs, and know exactly what steps to take if you're concerned about a pupil. The risks associated with the online world can be roughly broken down into 3 categories: the psychological and emotional risks, behavioural risks, and privacy, data and financial risks. If we think about the psychological and emotional risks, this could be cyberbullying, and that could be hurtful messages and group chats or being excluded from online games. For example, a child might receive some nasty comments on a TikTok video. There's inherent risk that a child might see inappropriate content that could be violent or pornographic. And there's always the risk of online grooming or exploitation. We know that strangers will use the internet to try and build relationships with children. These social comparisons can lead to feelings of low self-esteem. From a behavioural standpoint, we need to be aware of the risk of radicalisation. Some online groups push extreme views or hate speech, for example, forums that promote misogynistic ideas or extremist beliefs. And risk-taking behaviour could include joining viral challenges like dangerous stunts. From a privacy, data and financial standpoint, there's phishing scams, which are emails which ask you to compromise your passwords or bank details. It can be the oversharing of personal information. It can be tracking and profiling young people. And it could be a scam or a fraud. Think about the 4 C's. The risks can be grouped into our 4 categories. Content risks include harmful material such as pornography or self-harm sites. Contact risks are when children are interacting with potentially harmful individuals online, which can lead to grooming and radicalisation. Conduct risks involve the child's own behaviour, such as bullying or sexting. And commerce risks involve scams, gambling, and in-game purchases. Let's delve into the 4 C's a little bit more deeply. Let's start with content risks. So children can come across harmful material online, things like self-harming, eating disorders or violent videos. As you can imagine, these can have a serious impact on mental health. Seeing this sort of inappropriate material online can also normalise this type of harmful behaviour. And over time, that can help shape attitudes and beliefs in a negative way. Signs and indicators to be aware of. You could see behavioural changes, so sudden changes in mood or behaviour. That could be withdrawal, irritability or aggression. The loss of interest in usual activities or friendships. Increased secrecy about online activity is always concerning, and spending an excessive amount of time online, especially late at night, should be a warning sign. Emotional indicators include anxiety or low self-esteem, or signs of distress after being online. The child could also be expressing extreme or inappropriate views, which they've not held before, or talking about harmful topics, such as violence, self-harm. You could see academic and social changes, so there could be a drop in school performance, avoiding school or social situations, using languages or phrases linked to harmful ideologies or adult content. There could be some digital clues as well, use of multiple accounts or encrypted apps, sudden increases in privacy settings or hidden apps, receiving gifts or money from unknown sources. These should all be signs that we need to be concerned about the child. The next C stands for contact, and we're going to look at grooming. So grooming is when someone builds a relationship with a child in order to exploit or abuse them. It will often begin with flattery or gifts, but quickly moves into secrecy. Grooming can happen anywhere, but children online are more at risk. It can happen when they're gaming, in chat rooms, or on live streams. Perpetrators groom, manipulate, deceive, and control children for their own gain. Children affected are frequently misunderstood, but their behaviour can become challenging, often defiant, and they can be difficult to engage with, and will very often not realise that they are the victim of being groomed. Warning signs of grooming include secrecy about online activity, sudden new friends, unexplained gifts or money, changes in mood, or becoming obsessed with being online. As staff, we must be alert to these subtle changes. Through the process of grooming, children can have contact with people who are wanting to radicalise them. So radicalisation can occur online when young people are exposed to extremist material. This might be through forums, videos or memes. Pupils who feel isolated or are searching for identity may be more vulnerable than others. And online echo chambers can often intensify extremist views. Radicalisation isn't just about extremist religious groups. It can also be political or social. For instance, exposure to misogynistic, hateful or violent material. The latest research has shown that the age of people becoming drawn into terrorism is getting younger, and the time taken to radicalise the person is getting shorter. Signs of radicalisation may include a growing fixation on particular issues, use of extremist language or symbols, sudden friendship changes, or an increase in aggressive or intolerant behaviour. We must never ignore these signs. Let's think about a case study now. A Year 10 pupil shares extremist views in a class discussion. What would we do? So the important thing is that we stay calm and neutral, and we avoid showing shock or confronting. We mustn't endorse or dismiss the view outright. Instead, we should ask critical questions, such as what makes you think that, or where did you hear that? Keep the discussion factual and balanced, but we must always reinforce our British values such as democracy, tolerance and respect. Don't argue or ridicule the student. After the lesson has ended, this needs to be reported. It should be reported in the normal way and the DSL alerted to the incident. Don't feel the need to investigate this yourself. Your role is to observe and report. We're now going to look at the third C, which is conduct, and specifically online bullying or cyberbullying. Online bullying is also known as cyberbullying, and it's when someone uses digital technology, such as social media, messaging apps, gaming platforms, or email, to intentionally harm, intimidate, or humiliate another person. Cyberbullying is one of the most common online dangers. Hurtful messages, exclusion from group chats, or public shaming can happen quickly and spread widely. So some examples of cyberbullying would be sending threatening or hurtful messages, posting embarrassing pictures or videos online, spreading rumours online, or excluding someone from online groups or chats. If you receive a report of cyberbullying, it should be taken as seriously as face-to-face bullying. It must never be dismissed as just being online. It can have severe emotional and psychological effects. If someone reports that they've been the victim of cyberbullying, listen without judgment and reassure the pupil that it's not their fault. Record the details of the incident and offer emotional support, and then refer it to your designated safeguarding lead. We must continue to educate about the impact of cyberbullying and how we must remain responsible when we're online. To finish off this section on conduct, let's look at some other areas where children can be at risk. The sexting and sharing of nudes. The definition of this is sending or receiving sexually explicit images or messages, often via social media or messaging apps. The risks are the legal implications. Creating or sharing indecent images of anyone under 18 is illegal. It can lead to emotional harm. Images can be shared beyond intended recipients, leading to blackmail or bullying. If you were made aware of such an instance, be calm and non-judgmental, and do not view or share the image, and report it to your designated safeguarding lead. Digital footprint. That's the trail of data left online through posts, comments, likes, and searches. Children don't think about this quite often as they're making their way through the digital world, but there's the risk that future employers or universities may see old content. Personal information can also be misused and shared for scams or identity theft. We need children to understand what you post online tends to stay online. Oversharing. That's the sharing of too much personal information online, and that can be sharing your location, the school, your holiday plans. This can lead to increased vulnerability to grooming, fraud, and stalking. We need to teach our children to use the privacy settings and encourage them to think before you post. Finally, self-harm. Exposure to self-harm content or communities that normalise harmful behaviour is a big risk. Algorithms can also amplify this harmful content. If you become aware of a child who you believe is self-harming or is interested in self-harming online, it must be treated as a safeguarding and mental health concern. Listen, reassure, and refer to your designated safeguarding lead. Never promise confidentiality. So who are our most vulnerable children online? I'm sure it won't come as a surprise to you that our existing vulnerable groups are the most vulnerable children online. So we need to think about our children with SEND needs, those with mental health challenges, those that struggle with low self-esteem or social isolation. If a child has already experienced abuse or neglect, they'll be more at risk. And this will most likely include our looked after and previously looked after children. LGBTQ+ children are statistically more likely to experience online bullying, harassment, and exploitation. And so too may children who come from a minority background. They may face targeted abuse or lack of cultural sensitivity. Risk factors to consider include those children who lack digital literacy or digital supervision, when they spend a high amount of time on looking at a screen and don't have many boundaries in place at home, the children who use anonymous or unmoderated platforms. So what can we do to help? We need to have open conversations about our online experiences, both with children and their parents. We need to encourage parents to exercise parental controls and be aware of privacy settings. Some parents might need help with that. And as we've already talked about, we need to make sure that we're educating our children as part of our curriculum. So we've just been talking about recognising the signs of harm. So You found out that something's happened. How do you respond? Well, it's like any safeguarding concern. You record it factually. What is the information you know? Record as much detail as you can, but keep it factual. And don't speculate. If a child has come to you with a disclosure, you should always respond calmly. If they've actually got something on their phone, don't view it, because by viewing it, you can put yourself in a difficult situation. So you must never view or share harmful content. And the next step is to report it to your DSL immediately. So if it's an imminent risk, you must find a member of the safeguarding team, or you can record it on CPOMs. To summarise, online risks can take many forms, but grooming and radicalisation are particularly serious. Warning signs are often subtle, so we must be really observant. We need to remember that some children are more vulnerable than others, so think about your children with additional needs. Finally, if you have a concern, you should always report it to your DSL. Finally, thank you for completing the training today. And please always remember, it can and it does happen in our schools, so be vigilant. Thank you.